And I think 𝗦cie said it, in our meeting today, perfect. Like, he wasn't, last year might have been, a pretty big blemish on the club, but, they were setting up the club to be good for the next, 5-6 years. And I think that's what I see when I look at this roster. There's a lot of young guys who have tons of talent, who, are looking to make an impact. And, it's always tough when you're trying to find your footing and trying to win games. So, especially at this level. So it's, you just got to go out there and turn the page.
Turn the page, change the script, and hopefully a much better ending for the White Sox in 2025. Hey everyone, it's Chuck Garfien. Welcome back to another edition of the White Sox Podcast here at White Sox Spring Training at 𝗏𝗏 Ranch in Glendale, Arizona. That was new White Sox infielder Josh Rojas, who knows firsthand what it takes to turn things around. He played on the 2021 Diamondbacks, who lost 110 games, and then 2 years later, they were in the World Series. Now on the podcast, he's going to explain why he signed with the White Sox and why Josh believes the White Sox can play winning baseball in 2025. Also, what he brings to the table: plate discipline, working counts, defense. That's what this White Sox team needs, and he's going to explain why his offense struggled last year and what he's going to do to fix it. That and more with Josh Rojas coming up as he talks about what can happen, how the White Sox can turn things around quicker than you might think here in 2025. Let's do it. All right, Josh Rojas is with me. 7th season in baseball. You were a free agent and you chose the White Sox. So what was behind your decision? Because obviously we all know what happened last year, but you wanted to hop on board and try to change things here.
Yeah, I thought, I looked at the roster. I looked at the rosters of every team I met with, and it's a really good young group over here. I don't really take into the record, last year too much into account, just because I was part of one of those seasons in Arizona, and I know when you have a young group and, you have bad luck going your way, it's very easy to turn around. And, that was a World Series team a couple years later. So I think it's a pretty strong group over here, and I have an opportunity to compete for a starting job, and that's what I want to do. I want to try to get in the lineup and play every day.
You mentioned the Diamondbacks. So 2021, lost 110 games. You were on that team, right?
Yep.
Next year, 74 and 88, and then the year after that, you go to the World Series. So take us into what that was like and how a similar thing. I'm not saying this team's going to the World Series in 2 years, but you can turn things around pretty quick. Yeah,
I think it's just a matter of, like, in 2021, we just had tons of injuries at the wrong time. I think at one point all 5 starters were down, and we had a young group. We had young guys coming up, trying to find their footing. And I was one of those guys who was, trying to find their way into the big leagues, and, with a couple veteran pieces here and there. And you just have things that don't go your way. A lot of games where it's, you should win, that teams just battle back and find a way to win. It feels like you can't do anything right. Those years just happen. And I think 𝗦cie said it, in our meeting today, perfect. Like, he wasn't, last year might have been, a pretty big blemish on the club, but, they were setting up the club to be good for the next, 5-6 years. And I think that's what I see when I look at this roster. There's a lot of young guys who have tons of talent, who, are looking to make an impact. And, it's always tough when you're trying to find your footing and trying to win games. So, especially at this level. So it's, you just got to go out there and turn the page.
Yeah. Fans watched this unfold last year, and they see the moves that were made in the offseason, not splashy, a lot of moves like yours and just guys coming up, and they're skeptical, obviously, because, like, how can you turn this around so quickly? And yet here you are on a team that lost 110 games, and it went down to 88. Do you remember what it was like that following season, spring training after losing 110, and the skepticism that existed, and how you guys were able to flip the script?
Yeah, I mean, I think showing up that next year, it kind of just felt like a fresh start. It didn't feel like, we were less talented than anybody. There was times where, we didn't have all of our guys, and we were still competing. Like I said, we lost a ton of one-run games, really close ball games. And if you go back and you take all those one-run, two-run games and you just flip them over, I mean, a pretty good example is like the Chiefs this year. Like, they went 12 and whatever, and they won on the last possession a ton of times. Or, it's just
that could
like
have been a team that went like 7-9 or something.
it could have easily been a team that was at the bottom of the division. So, I mean, that's just sports. That's why we love sports. That's why we get up every morning and show up to the ballpark and compete, because it doesn't matter who you're playing against. It doesn't matter how good the other roster looks on paper. Everybody has a chance to win.
All right, so you were a part of one of the toughest losses, and there were so many tough ones for the White Sox last year. You were on the winning side. It was in Seattle because you're playing for the Mariners last season. First game of that series, the White Sox led 4-0 in the 8th. 𝗏𝗶 on the mound. You were a part of this rally. What do you remember about this?
Competing, we knew he's one of the best in the game. And I felt like we had a really good team that was just like, all right, we're just going to get on base and get it to the next guy. And we had the lineup to do that. And it was just like, get it to the next guy, get it to the next guy. Next thing you know, big shot, and we're taking the lead. So that's how this game goes. I mean, anybody has a chance to win. And we've talked about it before. Like when we played the White Sox last year, we didn't play one easy game. Every game was, it was a close game. We had to compete. It's a good roster. Yeah,
so you guys scored 4 runs to tie it off 𝗏𝗶, and then Jordan Leisure came in, and Cal Raleigh hits a grand slam. And everyone listening or watching, you might have seen me crawling onto the set after that. That was the game. Your team made me crawl onto the set. This thing went viral. It's one of the lowest moments of my life. But it was good TV, I guess. I don't know. I didn't mean to do it, but that's how I felt. That's what that season felt like for the White Sox, and you guys helped make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy game. It's a ton of games go that way. And I told you before, we had one in San Francisco that year in 21 where we scored like 7 in the first. We had the lead all the way to the 8th inning, and 𝗗cie𝗰𝗶𝗹 hits a go-ahead grand slam in the 8th, and it's like, what can we do to win a game? Like it's a crazy game, and that's why we love it.
All right, so that was from the 110 loss season?
Yeah, that was in 21.
Yeah, so because it did feel like there was, a clubhouse becomes a living organism, right?
Yeah.
And that there's a feel. Yeah. And then that goes onto the playing surface and it manifests there, right? So things I think last year with the White Sox just got so ass backwards, and you're facing professional hitters, pitchers, and the games keep coming and coming and coming, and you can see how things can get off the rails so badly if you don't have the right foundation, right?
Yeah.
Do you see, like, you can't predict the future, but do you see in the early moments of camp something happening here that would lead you to believe that that'll be preventable this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think the vibes were really good day one. Mm-hmm. We had a ton of work in. I felt like we focused on the fundamentals really well today. Base running day one, a lot of running. We did some fundamentals, pop-up priorities, like those little things are what win games. If you focus on those little things, that's how you beat teams with high payrolls and stacked rosters. Like, you can beat them with athleticism, you can beat them with youth. Like, those are all things that you take into account when you're, playing against teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees who have those high payrolls. Beat them with athleticism. Go out there and take the extra base on a ball in the gap. Steal bases when the opportunity presents itself. Score on base hits, like all those little things from innings 1 through 9 are what you do to win ball games.
So I know your game. I know how you play defensively. You had a rough season offensively. So what happened with you, do you think?
I think I just got caught up in my power numbers. I chased the homer a little bit too much in a ballpark that is not a homer-friendly ballpark. And, I started off the year really great, hitting for high average. And then I hit a couple homers, and then that felt good. And so I was going to try to leave the yard with every swing. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let me go try to find my other swing. And then, making swing adjustments in the big leagues is not the easiest thing to do. So, I'm going to make that adjustment this year. I'm going to go out there and try to hit doubles. That's my goal, is to hit as many doubles as I can, keep the ball low. No easy outs. My fly ball percentage was higher than it's ever been last year. And I think that was an approach thing. So hopefully I can go out there this year and keep the average high, hit doubles, steal bases, score on doubles, do the little things to provide runs for the team.
Now, you were batting in front of Julio Rodriguez a lot last season, right?
Yeah.
That was an important position, obviously, in the lineup. And I think a lot of it had to do with, like, you take pitches. You make the pitchers work. Mm-hmm. Is that a big part of your MO?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is I'm never really going up there looking to take pitches, but I am trying to control the strike zone. I try to tunnel guys into the spot that I want them and not expand in the zone they want me to go to. And I think that helps, when I'm at my best, when I have, my sights set where I want them and I have a pretty good game plan against somebody, I end up taking those pitches just off or just down and, extend at bats. And hopefully that lets the next guy be a little more aggressive.
Yeah, I see what you bring to a team and a clubhouse. I was frankly surprised that the Mariners non-tendered you. Were you surprised?
I was surprised, but I also know that I didn't have the offensive year that they wanted at third base, and my arbitration number didn't match my offensive production, and I was surprised, but I also understood. I understood that to match your arbitration number, you got to do better offensively, and I didn't do that. So I had the defense year I wanted, but now it's just putting the two together and keeping that consistency that I had at the beginning of the year through a whole 162.
All right, so you want a starting job here. You played a lot of third base last year. You played second. You played all over the field, but mostly it's been second and third. Where do you feel the most comfortable?
Most comfortable is probably third.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten the most reps there the last couple of years, but I've done a pretty good job this camp and even coming out early and taking ground balls at every position. Whether that's second, short, third, left, right, I'm good with wherever. It's how I got to the big leagues. I got to the big leagues being a utility guy, playing every position, and if that's what I have to do to stay, I'm more than willing to play every position. My main goal is just to be in the lineup and produce wins.
Yeah, you had 7 defensive runs saved at third. Do you check those stats at all?
I do.
Yourself? You do?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Especially defensively, I want to know, how I'm doing defensively. It's kind of like a push to show up every day. It's a long season, 162 games. Every guy has a way of, pushing themselves every day. Checking those things is my way of, pushing something that, early in my career I didn't focus too much on. I didn't focus enough on defense. It was always, show up, get to the cage, hit, work on your swing, go hit on the field. And, defense is kind of that thing that, you just wanted to get it over with so you can go work on your offense. And the last couple of years, just checking where I rank in those defensive numbers helps me show up to the field every day and focus on my ground balls and focus on my early work and, really hound in on, what makes me good on defense.
Yeah, what we're talking about, what you're saying is so much what this team needs. Defense, working the counts, right? Plate discipline. When you have all these close games like the White Sox had last year, the difference between winning and losing is the stuff that you can bring to the table. I'm assuming you feel like that's a successful formula for wins.
Yeah, I think all the things you talked about are how you beat, teams that are better on paper. I think that's the biggest key is being in the NL West for, 4 years mm-hmm. with the Dodgers and the Giants when they won all those games and the Padres. It's like, yeah, they might have the higher payroll, but what are the things we can do to beat them? And that's get on base and drive in runs. And if you do all the little things right, that's how you win. Free outs defensively, walks when you're pitching. Those are the things that are going to hurt you. Those are the things where you run into the 2-run homer that, really kills the vibe in the dugout, or 2 outs and you make an error and then that guy gets driven in and now it's a free run. So those little things that you can focus in on and eliminate, those help you win games.
So you mentioned there were a few teams you were looking at. I mean, how many other teams were in competition for you, or were you trying to decide between before you signed with the White Sox?
I had meetings with 5 or 6 teams. Mm-hmm. And, I was just trying to, obviously I felt out the vibes in the meetings on, how much teams really wanted me. I think that was the biggest thing for me is like, I want to go somewhere that wants me. And, I feel like I have the opportunity to, play every day and not the platoon role is what I was trying to get out of. Mm-hmm. I feel like I kind of played myself into the platoon role with not hitting lefties as well as I should have. And, I feel like, with the work I put in and my approach change. I think I can be the guy that, you know, plays every day, whether it's lefty or righty. And meeting with Chicago, I felt like that was going to be the opportunity to go out there and win a job to play every day.
What are your impressions of Venable?
Awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. You know, we've had 3 or 4 conversations in the off season already over the phone on just things that he wants to focus on in camp, things that I think are important in camp, which is awesome from a manager to you know, go out of his way to actually listen to the players and what they think they need or like in camp, or things they don't like in camp. I think he's the perfect manager for a young team.
I'm noticing he's not like, you know, as workouts are going on, he's kind of staying off to the side. He's not getting himself in the middle of things. Have you noticed that about him?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I like it. I think, you know, he's watching. You know, I think he's keeping an eye on everything, but I think it just shows that he trusts his staff. And, you know, I think that's the biggest thing you have to have as a manager is you have to trust your infield guys, your hitting guys. You know, I'm sure they have their meetings behind closed doors on what the focus is, and then, you know, trust your staff to go out there and implement those things. And when we come together as a team and we play in games, and that's his job to see how things are coming together.
Well, White Sox fans they want to believe in players. They want to believe in the team, and they want to have something that gives them hope. You see hope. You see a belief that this thing can turn around this year. 100%.
You know, like I said, it's a young team. It's a ton of athleticism. I think it's just a matter of, you know, focus on the fundamentals. If this group can focus on the fundamentals, I think it's a winning team.
Okay, winning team. That sounds good. A winning team.
Yeah.
Above 500.
Yeah.
No promises here, but you could see it in the cards.
Yeah, you gotta do the little things right.
Okay. Josh Rojas, great to see you. Thank you so much. I think you're going to be a great addition to the team, and we'll see where it shakes out. Third base, second base, shortstop. How many gloves do you have?
I got one. Oh, actually,
One
I got
glove.
two. I got two. I got an infield glove and I got an outfield glove.
That's
I used to have one for third, middle infield, and outfield, but now it's just one for the infield, one for the outfield.
Okay, and what do you like to do in Chicago? What's your favorite thing about Chicago?
I mean, I've only got to eat the deep dish, so I'm excited to explore some more options.
Yeah. Oh, more pizza or more just food in general?
More food in general.
There's so much food.
Yeah.
So much. You got to watch yourself.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. We'll be watching you on the field. Looking forward to seeing what you do. Josh Rojas here on the White Sox Podcast. 𝗗cie𝗰𝗶𝗟, take it away.
All right, Chuck. This edition of the White Sox Podcast is over.